Hello all, welcome to Biker Talkers and a brand new video. Hey all, welcome back to the channel. It's been a really long time coming, but it's finally here. The first ride review of the BSA Gold Star 650. Personally, I have waited a really long time for this kind of a motorcycle to come to India. Ever since Classic Legends announced that they had purchased BSA, I have been keeping a very keen eye on this project and its developments. Though we all knew that it would hit the British markets first, I have nevertheless been scouring the internet for any and every bit of information on this bike ever since I got to know about it. If I remember correctly, the bike was launched in the UK in 2022 June, with delivery starting 2 to 3 months later, and I think it's really worth the wait that it has come into our markets almost 2+ years later. I think Classic Legends has already detailed the reasons why they had to delay bringing this bike into different markets. There were the global concerns around COVID, there was market manufacturing issues, and so on and so forth. In a way, I think this is a good thing for Indian customers because the product has gone through a really tough initiation. If I remember correctly, the sales of this vehicle in the UK got a lukewarm response initially, but as CLPL has ironed out all their manufacturing, service, quality, and customer engagement issues, the sales has ramped up and so has the customer satisfaction levels. Indeed, today you can find a lot of glowing reviews for the BSA Gold Star, primarily out of the UK. So the product has undergone a certain evolution in a very tough market, which demands high standards in all aspects, and it has finally landed in India almost 2+ years later, hopefully with a lot of learnings along with it. This only bodes well for the Indian consumer. Even though products do have minor spec quality changes across different markets, and India being very cost sensitive, I am of the belief that this product falls into the lifestyle category, and so I hope that Classic Legends has not made any glaring cost cutting, corner cutting attempts, and that this is more or less the same Euro UK spec machine that we are going to get. So let's find out. The Gold Star looks really well made, but we need to find out if it's going to ride just as well. Very mild vibrations at idle, proper cold start, shifted into first, nice positive shift. Going to let go of the clutch very slowly. Feels very nice, very torquey. Vehicle immediately started to move. Let's go down this road slowly as I try to get a sense of the dimensions of this vehicle. brakes are just fabulous, amazing. The other thing to note is that this bike is quite heavy. The overall weight is something like 200 kgs plus. And yet, when you do this kind of braking in an emergency or a panic situation, the front just does not dive, it does not sink in, and the weight transfer is so controlled. It's a really beautifully well done setup. About 10 minutes into this ride, and I think I have a fair idea of how the bike is going to feel at low speed riding within the city conditions. Over bad surfaces, broken roads, potholes, etc., like this one, the bike takes it with aplomb. It is able to just roll over these bad surfaces. It is not too soft, it is not too hard, it's just about right. And I think they've done a great job in finding the sweet spot. Very occasionally, you might find that the rear is a little bit stiff, but there's absolutely no jarring or jolting, and it's a very pleasant ride all the time. There is just so much torque, you can short shift, open the throttle lazily, and let that overflowing torque just intoxicate you. It pulls like nothing else. And when you need a quick overtake, you just open the throttle and you don't even need to drop a gear. I think we are going to hit some bad traffic here. This will be a good litmus test of how the bike handles in stop and go traffic. Speeds are dropping, and I still don't feel the need to put my foot down unnecessarily. It goes back to my initial feeling that the weight distribution on this bike has been really well managed. You can see from my steering inputs and throttle inputs that I am barely having to struggle as I filter through these small gaps without much difficulty. For a bike of this heft and size, it's not too wide. Nothing sticks out anywhere that you need to worry about hitting or scraping against other people. So steering is very light, it's extremely well balanced and very easy to drive through such traffic. On the note of suspension tuning, just the way this bike is so well balanced, no matter what kind of roads you take, what kind of steering inputs you give, quick change of directions, slow speed, everything considered, the suspension tune is quite impressive actually. And when you consider that this does not have any sophisticated machinery that it is taking on with it, to get the state of tune for a bike which is of this weight and still manage to give it very good compliant ride on broken roads inside the city, good tuning and damping at medium and higher speeds across all kinds of surfaces, and no dive, no squirrely behavior under hard braking. All of this is absolutely fantastic. And you see, I'm just rolling over these bumps here. If you just know what is the right speed that you need to carry over this, the bike will just make you roll over them. Oh yes, the brakes continue to impress me. Now I think there's a bad patch ahead, so let's try to make some space for ourselves and go through this at a slightly higher pace. We might have to make some space for ourselves here. This thing just goes through all of this like a road roller. It's not shy to go through these bad surfaces. It does not get destabilized. Let's try to squeeze through here. Easy peasy, no problem. Oops. Wow. It actually goes into spaces which you think are not there. Let's not try to go next to him. No. So you might think it's not going to go through some small spaces when you're filtering. Again, there's a gap here, but I don't want to risk it. So let's just stay in line here and try to see what it does on this bad patch of road. As I said, for a vehicle which is of its weight, it feels incredibly agile. The steering is very light. It doesn't feel too wide. You don't have to worry about hitting vehicles on your left or right. And there's just so much confidence in taking it through narrow sections, bad roads. It just is not faced by anything. And I think this is one of the key factors in any motorcycle is that you need to feel confident, you need to feel reassured that you know what are the limits of your motorcycle. You should not be guessing in any scenario whether it's going to stop, whether I'm going to be able to take this road. As you can see, I'll just switch over to the left and go over this. The bike is unfazed and it gives you complete control of its limits. Now we need to turn left. Oh, loose surface. Lot of grip. Very good grip from those tires. Fantastic. Let's now pull off and see if we can do a few high speed runs here. Inside the city, top marks. Well done. This brings us to the most important and interesting part of the test ride review. We've spoken a long time now about how well the BSA Gold Star 650 handles city conditions, and this is where we are going to bring it to the proving grounds. The soul of this bike is on the open highway, and it has to prove its mettle again on the highway before we can really consider it to be a worthy challenger. Let's find out.
So you came here 'cause you wanna be a star. Rolling into town in your daddy's old car. Cruising down the street like a rolling stone. Pretty little boy far away from home. Diamonds on the beach on a girl that won't get old. Go and rub your feet against a body made of gold. Acting like you're cool when you try to please. But it's hard to be cool when you're on your knees. Hey, mister, what a day, mister. I am addicted to you. Hey, mister, what you say, mister? Can't get enough of you.
Closing thoughts on the 650 Gold Star, starting with the engine. Wow, this is a really beautiful piece of work from Rotax. They have once again hit the nail on the head. This engine is not a low-tech engine. People tend to think it's just a single and tend to be negative about it, but it's actually a high-tech 4-valve DOHC liquid-cooled engine, and it has got enough oomph for you to ride it on the highway like a hoot, and it has got fantastic torque delivery. It's very intoxicating. The drivability is so good inside the city that you could probably put it into second or third gear and be puttering around all day long. The clutch is extremely light, and the gearbox. If you hadn't noticed, we have not spoken about the gearbox till now. That in itself is the biggest credit that you can give to it, because it's a 5-speed gearbox and people tend to think, there's a gear less and that means that this is going to be trouble. Actually, if somebody had not told you that it's a 5-speed gearbox, you really wouldn't notice. because the gear ratios and the drivability, power and torque, they are all so beautifully well matched that you really wouldn't be looking for another gear. Then comes the chassis. The frame, I would say, is over engineered. You just need to look at the fit, finish and quality of this frame. It clearly looks like it can take a lot more beating than what we can offer it. I feel that this is going to be a platform for various other variants of this particular model in the future. There is no discernible chassis flex, there is no wallowy feeling. You can push it, the agility is there, the flickability is there, the steering is light. Overall, there's absolutely nothing that you can fault about this chassis, and I think this is one of the biggest strengths of this bike. The chassis was developed with help from Ricardo Consulting, just like how Royal Enfield did it with Harris, and I think this is one of the biggest plus points on this bike. The suspension, as we've already spoken, it's difficult to find a compromise with conventional suspension setup for a bike which is this heavy. You tend to make it plush for the city but difficult for high-speed running, and the vice versa. But I think again Classic Legends have hit the sweet spot here. The suspension tuning is nearly spot on. It's not ideal, but it's going to get the job done in 95% of the cases, and I'm very happy with it. With all of these things falling in place, ride and handling is a pleasure. You wouldn't have anything to complain about ride and handling. The ergonomics is something that might probably be more suitable to comment on after a really long ride, but on the 45 minutes that I rode this vehicle inside town and briefly on the expressway, I think the rider's triangle is very good. It might be that the handlebar gives you the impression that you have to reach out a bit for it, but the riding posture, the footrest position, the angle at which your knees are bent, your positioning of the arms, everything feels and indicates that this is going to be a very comfortable machine both inside the city and on the highway. The seat is comfortable, it is wide, it is not too soft. I feel it could have been a little firmer, but time will tell. Finally, we come to one of the hot topics, literally, heating, refinement and NVH levels. This is an engine coming from Rotax. This is chassis developed with Ricardo. It's got fantastic engineering on it, and refinement and noise, vibration and harshness levels are excellent. You don't have to be subjective. You can generalize. It is fantastic. There are no undue vibrations at any speeds, and practically speaking, between 0 to 120 kph, you will be hard pressed and you will have to really pinpoint at something very specific and say, there is some vibration there, there is some vibration here. The bike feels wholesome, it does not feel buzzy, it feels solid and well put together. So great job there. All the talk of true Brit, Indian grit, which suits the image of this machine perfectly. It's stocky and muscular. But is the Gold Star 650 taking the fight to the competition? Does it have the knockout punch in it? Do we finally have a challenger to the throne? Everybody likes to complain that Classic Legends is a company that always tries to meet just the benchmark, and by the time they introduce their product in any category, the benchmark has moved on, and so they just keep falling behind. But this time round, they have finally got a product on their hand which is not aiming to just hit the benchmark. This truly has the potential to beat the benchmark, and we're going to wait and see how Classic Legends are going to execute that. For now, shots have been fired at the competition. It's time for us to sit back and enjoy what happens next.